So, welcome to episode 4 of Butterfly Stories.
We've got Natalie with her beautiful socks and Cat in studio with us today.
Hello.
I have no socks on.
So obviously you guys, well not obviously, we're here to tell your story. Soulful Sunday is a big name, but we want to figure out how you actually got there. You know, how did Soulful Sunday come to be? I remember when we first started doing the cold water out our back garden, and our friends all thought we were weirdos.
Absolutely.
And now they're all doing it.
And I think you're a massive part of that. You've been like setting the scene where folk want to get involved.
Oh, that's
when
amazing.
we were doing it, they were like, nah.
Crackpots. So take us back a wee bit, you know, how, maybe start off with you, Natalie, like your story and what led you up to, you know, creating Soulful Sunday.
Sure. Gosh, I should have really thought about it first. I guess my story is, it didn't just spring out of nowhere. I've been a yoga teacher for 15 years. So I think for me, it's cold water is a holistic practice. It's just something that I needed at that particular time in my life. So yoga's always been a tool for me that's got me through certain parts of my life. I do laugh all the time and say to people, how do you actually get through life without yoga? Because I just don't understand. But it was really kind of round about lockdown time, as for most people, where my life rapidly changed. You know, we were locked in, things that I could normally do, I was suddenly not able to do. I just found myself struggling a little bit, anxiety-wise, which I think a couple of years ago I was a wee bit embarrassed to say, because I think sometimes we look at people who do jobs like us and think, oh, they will never suffer with that. They'll never get anxious. Yeah. But now actually I love talking about it because nobody's immune. You know, there's always going to be a part of your life. And I do see it as a season of life. So it was a season for me where I got particularly anxious and started to have panic attacks. And I will say this for the people who do think that this is crazy, is I'm not someone who loves cold water. I hate being cold. Still to this day, look at it and think, oh my God, how am I going to do that? But for me, it was an intervention. So it was the one thing that I didn't want to do that instantly took me out of my anxious brain. And that's really how I got started with it. I became like what you guys are, and like what Kat is now, is couldn't stop telling people how amazing and how different I felt just after 1 minute in cold water. Like, it was a revelation to me.
So there's a couple of things there for me, Natalie. Like you said, you felt a bit embarrassed before to chat about being anxious and things like that. For us, that's the whole premise behind this podcast, is it's real people with real stories, and some people they might think are unlikely people to, but every day it's a constant, it's not a battle, but it's constant work. I always use the analogy as you don't go into the gym one day and you're built like Arnold Schwarzenegger. It's the same with the mind. So I don't think there's any shame in that.
And something I always say is you're not enlightened yet, so you're still going to have human feelings. And
Absolutely.
I think when you are like, people are aware of you on social media and stuff, and they think that's your life all the time, but you're doing these things because they help you. But sometimes things come along and you've got a wee list of things you can use to help you, but you're still a human. Totally. You still get human feelings.
Absolutely. And it's actually not even a past tense.
Yeah.
For me, I can't say it was an anxious, I'm still anxious, you know, but it's something that really, really helps me. And for me, I've always been the type of person, if something helps me, I have to tell people about it. Yeah. I can't keep it to myself. And that's really how the whole Soulful Sunday thing came about, is because I started to tell people and kind of forced a few people to come and do it with me. And then they felt better, and so on and so on and so on. It literally grew just completely organically like that.
So what does that do for you when you go into the water? You're perhaps in an anxious state and you go into the water. What does that do for you?
So not so much now, funnily enough, because I've become used to it. But back then, a couple of years ago, it instantly switched my thoughts off. So for me, it was like as close to meditation as I had ever been in my whole life, even though I'd always tried to meditate. Whereas this I wasn't trying to meditate. It was almost like a cry for help. I didn't know what else to do. But as soon as I submerged myself, nothing, silence. And when you're anxious, you're thinking too much. So to have silence, even just for 5 seconds, it was addictive, actually. addictive.
So why cold water? What led you to cold water in the first place?
It was a Wim Hof. It was a Wim Hof. It was a documentary. I think it was the Yes Theory. Have you seen that one?
Uh-huh.
In lockdown on YouTube, I'd just seen it and thought, oh God, he's crazy. You know?
And it's unbelievable to think that something so positive came from such a negative circumstance. You know, the world shut down and something extremely positive and beautiful came from that, because there's a full movement, I would say, within Scotland that have validated us for not being weirdos to begin with. That's the most important thing.
I know, and mine's is actually so similar, because I seen Wim Hof at Tony Robbins and I was like, I love him. And then I went home and I was doing the showers, but what you're saying, it's addictive. I did like a 30-day like challenge thing in the winter, and we had to hammer through the ice to get into it. But as you said, like you can't think anything else. And it was during lockdown for me as well. I did that, and it was just the perfect way to just shut down all those intrusive thoughts.
Yes.
It's funny as well for me, like you said, Natalie, about stepping into the water. You never look at the water. Certainly I don't look at the water and think, this is going to be brilliant, I can't wait to get into that water. It's never like that for me. And it's certain circumstances, I don't know if this is like for you as well, Kat, and yourself, Natalie, like it's different circumstances as well. I find the cold water, like Aberdour, getting into the North Sea, that's far more difficult for me. Tough Mudder, going into that Arctic enema, every single time I go into that, I think this is how I'm going to die. Every single time without fail. Do you find that like some circumstances, like where the water is, it's easier than others, or is it all much of a muchness? I
think the opposite of you, actually. I think it's much easier to get into open water than it is in my tub at home. I don't know why. It's funny actually to hear you say that, because I think most people agree that it's more difficult to step in on your own into a tub and think, oh, now I'm going to have to sit down. For me, it's easier to be out in nature, around, definitely in a group of people, always makes it easier. But to kind of go ankles, knees, hips, you know, and then work my way up the body. But I do get that, and obviously a lot of people are terrified of open water as well. You know, what lies beneath type thing. I'm
terrified, and that's why I love Soulful Sunday, because I know that if you're ahead of me, if there's anything, you're going to get it first. So I'll keep going if you're going.
Good.
But when we go
we're
on
just the guinea pigs.
I'm like, okay,
if
there's
we disappear
nothing
under the water, you know it gets eats pretty much.
But when we go on our own, I'll go in just a wee bit and then sit down, and then there's people always watching you, and I'm like, they're going to think I've never done this in my life because I'm going in just a wee bit. So I
or they think that you're doing the toilet. Sometimes I think that when I go in and I squat, and then I think, I'm not doing the toilet. Actually doing.
It's a Mars bar, I promise. Sorry, cut that. What about you, Kat? Is it similar for you? You find the open water far easier to go into?
Oh yeah, I much prefer the open water. And still to this day, I can't stand a cold shower.
Oh, yeah.
I never understand when people are actually advised to start with cold showers. I don't get it, because still,
that's
like I said,
difficult.
to this day, I would never do it. I don't enjoy it at all.
I agree with that. I find it really difficult to catch my breath in the shower.
Yeah, it's
There's
not
no
relaxing.
control.
I find it's the opposite. Yeah.
I think when you go up, well, certainly when I go into the tub, there's that element of, we used to do it at night time during lockdown, when it was like this time of year and it's pitch black and the stars are out. To me, there's no peace like that. Eventually, when you go over that first 30 seconds, you're in and you just relax and you see the stars, and it's so
Especially
peaceful.
if you've had a stressful day, it just lets you just get all that out your head before you can relax.
Yeah.
I'm a morning dipper. I love first thing in the morning. Yeah, as soon as I wake up, that is the first thing I like to do.
Set up for the day.
Oh, completely set up for the day. I'm the opposite. Nat loves nighttime. Yeah, but I'm definitely the morning dipper.
What does that do for you, Kat, in the morning? Like, what does it do for your body, for your mind? Talk us through that.
I think when I wake up first thing in the morning, I'm the person that literally plays out their whole day in their head before they've actually done it. And I think sometimes that's a good thing, because I can sort of put it into little compartments and work out what my day is going to be like. But then all of a sudden I've woke up, my mind is racing as soon as I've woke up. So it just forces me to take that time for myself. And I just feel completely actually So I've just done this first thing in the morning, especially in the winter in Scotland, outside in my garden. Then actually whatever the rest of the day throws at me, I've got this because I can do this.
There's something quite tribal about that in the winter where you need to break through that ice and you're going away in and it's slashing your leg open, but you're fine.
Yeah, totally.
Yeah. So do you do that like as soon as you get up, you get out of bed, straight out into the back garden?
Yeah, I would normally wake up. I'd normally have a little bit of yoga practice, maybe like just 15, 20 minutes, and then straight into my tub.
Nice. I think that's an important aspect to mention as well. Soulful Sunday isn't just cold water.
Yeah.
It's yoga. It's everything round about that as well. Because when I showed up, Kelly was training, and we're back at G4 where it all began for Kelly.
How special is this?
It's amazing. We'll give G4 a mention during this as well. They've been absolutely amazing in terms of facilitating this podcast and helping us get the message out.
And
Amazing.
I don't think people realise how lovely a person Nicole is. Like, she does not go about telling everyone, but she's just the most kind-hearted and just want to help everyone.
She is a force to be
She
reckoned
is.
with.
She
I think
is.
that was what I said to Nat after the first time we met her. I was like, yeah, so I want to be her. I was like, she is a
When
force.
I grow up, I want to be Nicole. She is. She's
She
just
loves a bit of yoga
heart.
and cold water as
She
well.
does.
So when I turned up, Kelly was doing the training, then she went along. I think it was Aberdour, the first one you went to, and you saw, the campfires there and the yoga practices taking place beforehand. It was just amazing, this full experience. So take us through that as well. Was it about an hour session of yoga you do beforehand?
Yeah, weather dependent. Obviously in the winter when it's raining on us and blowing away, we'll maybe be a little bit quicker, but at least 30 minutes.
Yeah.
And it's lovely to move outside. And actually some of our favourite sessions have probably been when the rain is absolutely pouring down on us. And it's just embracing nature in Scotland. I think that was the one thing for me that Soulful Sunday has definitely done. I lived away for 13 years. I lived in a much nicer climate. And when I actually came home to Scotland, I literally stayed in the house all the time because I was like, I can't cope. I can't do this. Like, what do people do? I mean, I grew up here my whole life. I left in my 20s, came back in my 30s. And I was like, what do people do in Scotland when the weather's like this? And now I never even check the weather forecast because it doesn't matter because I'm just going to go outdoors and get on with it anyway. And I never thought I would be that person ever.
It's so good for your mental health though, isn't it?
Oh, I love that. I would literally spend most of my time outdoors.
Me too.
And I do that. Even in the winter, our garden is literally an extension of our house. It's an extra room and I love it.
Amazing.
Absolutely. Like even with kids as well, I always tell people to take them outside. Their behaviour can be away up here, and as soon as you walk outside, they're like, you don't have the same issues.
Yeah.
What about, we'll take it back even further than that. You mentioned, you doing yoga for 15 years. What led you to yoga in the first place?
My mum, actually.
Your mum?
Yes. So we talk about my mum all the time, and we need to remember to do this. Next week, we've got a photo shoot for our new studio that we're opening, and we're going to make her one of the poster girls.
Yes.
Oh,
Nice.
She'll die.
that's
Mum,
my goals
if
though.
you're watching this, it's happening. So she's mid-70s, 75 this year. She's done yoga for at least 40 years.
Amazing.
Wow.
So my whole life, I'm 44, I've just watched my mum doing this. Always thought it was rubbish, as you do when you're a child. You think, a bit weird.
Anything your parents are into, you're not.
But my kids obviously think of me. And actually my middle daughter just sent me this ridiculous meme earlier on, and it's saying, imagine talking about me and I'm just lying in my bed doing this, and it's the woman, she's just doing like a headstand in her bed. She's like, why is this the most you thing I've ever seen? And I was like, fair, it actually is. So I was really lucky to have watched my mum doing that. I've always suffered with terrible pain in my neck, which I again was complaining in IKEA about earlier on today because I've just got a really sore neck. I've got scoliosis basically. So when I was 15 and was diagnosed with that, the doctor was just handing out all sorts of pills, diazepam, tramadol, all of that type of stuff. And my mum was like, no thanks, she'll go to yoga. And I thought, oh no. Just give me the pills. But actually, it's meant that the conditions never got any worse. It's always stayed, it'll never get any better, but it's never got any worse. So I kind of had to do it to manage the pain. I never enjoyed it actually for the first couple of years. I think I was 16 when I first started to go, and I just thought yoga was rubbish. I really did. I used to actually say to my mum, it's £5. I used to say, do you pay £5 for this? Like, to lie down. And it was only a few years later when I had my first child, when I was 18, and then one when I was 19, that I thought, oh, thank God for yoga. It suddenly became a very, very different thing. It helped me to give birth really easily, but it also helped just with my own sanity levels after that. So yeah, it became, as I grew, it became a completely different thing.
There's huge misconceptions with yoga, and I will admit to having those misconceptions before you started training, Kelly. And I was so encouraged to see Alistair at the last yoga teacher training you were doing. Yep. What an amazing guy he is. To see a man in that environment training. So it's so encouraging to see that, because there's so much stigma attached to that and getting by that. But Kelly will have me doing yoga all the time. If I'm a little bit stressed out, she'll say, let's break out the yoga. and we do that.
Not in that voice.
No, Kelly now smokes 80 a day. So I think as well, like that message with yoga as well, what did it do for you, like Cat, for you in your mental health and just in terms of grounding you? Do you use it as a tool for that as well?
Absolutely. I have to admit that I got into yoga purely for the physical aspects. My background is, personal trainer, so worked in the fitness industry. And I was like, yeah, I'm going to go do that yoga course so that I can teach that. That'll be great for people stretching after my other classes. And it wasn't until I did my yoga course that I realised there was so much more to yoga than a physical practice. And now I actually do it for all the other benefits apart from the physical. Mm-hmm. The physical is almost like just that little side extra benefit that I get from it. Mm-hmm. But yeah, if I didn't have my yoga practice every morning, so I have reached that age in my 40s where I am perimenopausal, and I'm going to openly admit to that now. It's actually taken me a while to be comfortable to say that. And I say this all the time. I actually said this to Nat and Zoe the other day, like, what do the women do who don't have yoga? Mm-hmm. Like, they must be getting out their minds because I'm struggling. Mm-hmm. So I think now more than anything, it just means so many different things to me.
I think that's a good point, but Kat, like Natalie mentioned earlier on about the tramadol and all the different medication they're thrown at you. So from what you're going through, perimenopausal at the moment, what advice would you give to other women going through that? We're not saying don't go to a doctor. That's not what we're saying at all. But what are the other things they can do to assist out with medical intervention?
Absolutely. And, I fully endorse, HRT and things like that if it's the right thing for you. But I think one of the hardest things that when you reach your 40s, we lead such different lives than maybe like what our mums did, etc. We're busy. Most of us have full-time careers. We have children, and a lot of us have children later in life now as well. So in your 40s, whereas previously your kids would have been leaving the house, you've actually probably got young children in the house. So I think the thing we miss out now is women in our 40s is time for ourselves. Absolutely. And that time on the mat for me that's what that is. That's my time for me. And it might be 10 minutes. It could be an hour if I'm really, really lucky that day. I think that's what's important. It's time for yourself. I think that's the biggest thing in this world that we lack now is, and actually that time and rest doesn't have to be earned. Yeah, that is the narrative I really want to teach people, especially women in their 20s and 30s now. You do not, because I spent my 20s and 30s doing that, thinking I had to earn rest, that I had to earn time for myself. But you're not. You are deserving of those things. We are all worthy of that time for ourselves. And that's what's so important for me.
Something I like that you said as well earlier is about how you've got your day planned already in your mind. I think that's really important, actually. I know that might not work for some people, but you're already future projecting that day in your mind, and you're setting yourself up for success for that day. I think that's so important. We're so susceptible to rolling over and picking up our phones and doom scrolling straight away. So avoiding that and getting in the tub straight away, I think, is
setting the day off right.
Yeah, absolutely.
Yeah. What you're saying about when you did your yoga training, I had went into it and I was a bit more on the spiritual side, but I had no idea the journey I was going to go on doing the training. It was unbelievable, like what you took us through. And I think, what do people do without having something? Because years ago, people used to go to church and things like that for their spiritual life. But a lot of people have came away from religion, whereas I think that's where yoga helps me. It's like that part's missing. So there's something that I can go to for that kind of spiritual life. Do you know what I mean?
Oh, absolutely. I think the one big thing for me about yoga is the connection. Yeah. The connection to other people. And actually, that was I had been living at home back in Scotland for like 3-4 years, I think, before I actually met Nat. And I had really struggled when I came home. I didn't think I would. I was in my 30s. All of a sudden, I had my friendships were all gone because I'd built all my friends somewhere else. And my job that I'd always loved, working for myself, building communities of women, that is literally all I've done my whole career. All of a sudden, I didn't have that either. And it was actually my sister who forced me to go to one of Nat's sessions.
Oh, really?
Yes, it was my sister, Charlotte. She did cold water therapy before me, and I was really suffering. I had reached burnout. I didn't have a lot of connections after, because I was home in my 30s and all of a sudden I had no friends. Do you know how hard it is to make friends in your 30s? It's so much harder for some reason. No, I don't know if you just don't put yourself out there as much.
Or other people have got set in their own wee groups and haven't got time to maybe expand.
Definitely. And so I went along to the breathing room at the time.
Oh, wow.
And I attended Nat's yoga classes and cold water for 3 months before I actually told her I was a yoga teacher.
I get that.
So I did. And it was after one Soulful Sunday experience at Aberdour. I was the same as you. And I turned to Charlotte and I said, so I need to do this. I need to teach this somewhere else. And I think that following Tuesday, I said to Nat, so I'm a yoga teacher. I'd like to teach this on the beach.
What was your reaction?
Well, I think I was glad, actually, because it doesn't matter how many years you teach yoga for, you don't really want other yoga teachers in your class because it makes you really nervous. You start to, overthink things and second guess yourself. So I was glad, one, that she hadn't told me and I hadn't asked. But really just so grateful to meet someone who was on the same wavelength that I trusted to do Soulful Sunday. Because before that, Soulful Sunday had been running for a year and it was just myself. I had 2 locations, one at Luss, one at Aberdour, and I just did one every week. But I was getting so many requests from people saying, can you do it here? You should do it here. And I'm thinking, there's only one Sunday a week and there's only me. And then there was a Nat and then suddenly there was a Cat and it was like, oh my God.
It was meant to be.
It was just amazing. So it's amazing to meet someone who you just have total respect for. Like Cat and I, obviously we work together, but I feel like I trust her 100% that when I'm not there, that the message is going to be exactly the same. Yeah. And I know that Cat would feel exactly the same way. So, because it's a big thing, you know, to suddenly just have, Soulful Sunday wasn't like a business idea. I was teaching yoga for years. Suddenly we shut down in lockdown and I had to take my clients somewhere. So we ended up at Luss one day. And I thought it would be a one-off. I never thought that it would be 3 years later, we'd still be going. Thankfully we are, thanks to everyone that comes. And now we'll be there until the last person decides never to come back again. We might even just go ourselves.
I was just going to say, we'll just go the 2 of us. We'll be good.
And we'll still love it. But yeah, it was just amazing to meet someone and just be like, oh, right, okay, what do we do now? You know, and then Kat picked her location And I learned then so much from Kat because, as she says, she has been building communities of women her whole entire life. So, yeah, we just bounced, didn't we?
Yeah.
You totally get that off of you both.
Oh, I love that. Yeah, we agree on so many things, but we're so different. We are like definitely each other's yin and yang, aren't we?
Complement each other.
We are.
Can I just say, but, and this isn't blowing smoke or anything like that. So, you know, I said it in the day that I came along to the teacher training thing is like, if you want a kinder world, then be a kinder person. And for the work that you're doing, whether it's yoga teachers, whether it's coaches or whatever it might be, it matters the content of your character. And you guys have got it right. It's like that kindness shines through. And it's I think it's that people gravitate towards more than anything.
Right.
They will come towards that because it's authentic.
Yeah.
So what was I'm upsetting myself now. So what was the transition period then? So Cats came and said, I need to do this. So how long did that actually take to get that into action?
Well, here's how very different we are. So we met on the Tuesday and I was like, well, you just start on the Sunday. And she was like, no, it'll take me a little while to build things up. That's what I do. I just jump in head first. I think it was probably about 6 weeks, if I remember.
So, yeah.
Where Kat then did it perfectly. She went and found her location, did a risk assessment on it, did some photographs on it, did some content on it, and actually was then able to attract people to it. Whereas I would just go in all guns blazing, you know, so it was a lesson in how to do it properly, actually.
And that's such like helpful as well, because as you were saying, you've already had a yoga studio as well, haven't you?
Yeah, I think Nat is so good for me because I am the person that'll overthink. And, you know, you've overthought something so much, so you eventually end up not doing it.
Yeah.
Whereas she puts it out there that we're going to do it. And I'm in the background going, okay, how will we do this now?
That's us. That's us. I'm the overthinker and he's the one that just does it.
That's why actually I think she's good for me because I don't get to think myself out of things.
Yeah.
And equally,
You said that nicely, Kat. I thought you were going to say, and Nat doesn't think at all.
No.
Which is actually the truth. I don't have a lot of fears of things, and actually when it comes to when we are opening a new studio, as you guys know, we keep laughing about it because I would have spent 100 grand on that easily. I don't have 100 grand, but I would have spent it on it somehow because I just don't do things like, you know, let's have a budget. I'm like, that why? But now that we've done it the right way, Kat's way, I'm like, thank God for that.
It's good though. It's good to have a bit of both, because if you were both like that spontaneous, then it would
be a nightmare.
Yeah. But if you were both too fearful, it wouldn't go anywhere.
Absolutely.
So you need each other.
Yeah.
One to pull you along and one to pull you back.
We're definitely like that, because I've come up with some incredibly stupid ideas over the years, and
I'm just
like, no.
He's like, I've not even finished my sentence. I'm like, no.
Just no. Sit back down.
Yeah,
so the new studio's over in Cumbernauld?
Yes.
Yes,
Oh,
it
so
is. It's very exciting. I suppose maybe when the podcast goes out, we'll be open.
Yeah. I'm so excited. And I wore my bow especially for you because it's your colours. I just love your brand. It looks beautiful.
It is quite an organic thing, the studio, hasn't it? So obviously we haven't discussed it.
This is the moment that Nat just jumped in.
Kat's mentioned it a few times and I've always been like, no, we've got too much other things to do. Let's not. Haven't you? You've always been like, I would really, because she knows the value of doing it, you know, and having a space. Kat was on holiday earlier on this year. It must have been July time.
Yeah.
And it's actually one of our clients, a Soulful Sunday client, who had messaged me and said, I've got this space. I think you should come and have a look at it. And I was like, all right. And I thought, I'll go and have a look, but I'll probably pass it on to someone else. Anyway, I went to look at it and came out with the keys. I never told anybody. not a soul. And then Cat came back about a week later, and I was terrified to tell her because I thought she'd kill me.
Cat's going to batter me.
Yeah, because we hadn't discussed it at all. And then I sent you a WhatsApp, and I was like, "So I've got the keys for the studio," and she was like,
of the keys.
"Yeah." I was like, and then Kat was like, "Okay, I'll come and have a look at it." And then she seen it and was like, "So I'm in it with you?" And I was like, "Oh, thank God." Because in my mind for 2 weeks I was thinking, what if I have to do this by myself? Oh my God, it's going to be a nightmare. But funnily enough, because we hadn't discussed anything, I think people will look at it when it opens and think that it's been a big grand plan. It hasn't.
Yeah.
Like, we never had a name, we never had anything. But when I walked into the space, I instantly had a vision of what it would look like. Never said to Kat, and when she came in, she told me her vision, and I was like, yeah.
Oh, I love
Like
that.
colours, everything,
Yeah.
smell,
Yeah.
everything was the same.
Amazing.
Yeah.
I know.
And see, when something's right, it just rolls so easily. That's what we found.
Totally.
If you're making the right decisions,
Yeah.
it just works for you.
And we've actually not rushed it. We could have really, really put the foot down in the last couple of months, but we've actually, I think, just where we are both personally and what we've learned over the last couple of years working together is don't force it.
Yeah.
Just let it happen. And I don't feel stressed about it.
Nah, occasionally.
When things leak and stuff like that, we're a bit like, oh my God. But I feel as if we've not stressed ourselves out about it, because I don't think you can have a space like that with that in the walls.
yeah.
Yeah.
And it's
Yeah.
not in the walls.
No.
It really is. As soon as you walk in, it's like I can't wait to get there
It is
and
exciting.
get it
now.
going.
It looks like a studio now, and I think that's what's exciting. I think the only reason I sometimes stress is because I just want everyone to come. And the thing we said about the studio when we were so we worked with a girl who helped us create our brand, because really we didn't have a brand. We didn't know what it looked like. I think we had lots of ideas, and she just really helped pull it together for us. And that was how Soul Space was born. But I think we had all these different ideas, and the words that we kept saying to her was, so we just want people to come and just leave feeling a little bit better. If someone comes and they just leave just that little bit better, then we've done our job.
Yep.
And yeah, so Soul Space, and our tagline is where wellness meets community.
I
Nice.
love it.
And that for me is exactly what we want to do.
Because you're taking the essence of Soulful Sunday
Yeah.
and taking it into a studio.
Yeah.
Yep. So they can come every day of the week and
Every
feel like that.
day.
I love the name as well, Soul Space. So I talk a lot about living from the heart rather than up in the mind. It's how do we bring ourselves back into our body?
Yeah.
And to me, it screams that as well. It's soul space. It's bringing down back into your soul, back
That's
into your
nice.
heart, rather than this just being a space, because it's
Yeah.
more than that.
Well, that's
Yeah.
lovely. I think it's going to be really nice for us to actually hear other people's feelings and thoughts on it, because as we say, it was just so instinctive. We never discussed the name, did we?
No, we didn't have
No.
a name.
I don't know where it came from. It was just Soul Space. That was
Yeah.
just what it was one day, and
Yeah, that was it.
none of us can take the credit for that. That's
No.
just what it was. So it's lovely, actually. I love that.
Yeah.
What's the plans for the studio? It's too early for that.
No.
I know there's an ice bath.
There's a really cool ice bath. It's very different.
Yeah.
I'm going to put it out there. No other place in Scotland has this ice bath indoors.
We actually spoke to the plumber that plumbed it in. I won't say too much. I don't want to give it away, but he was like,
There was nutters.
I've never done a job like that in my 40 years of plumbing. He's like, honestly, that's the most unique job I've ever done in my life.
I love it. Yeah, that was interesting when he first came to the studio. It was just Nat and I there with our paintbrushes, and he's walking in and he's like, he's what to do what?
But it's going to be incredible.
Yeah. And he's amazing. We have to big him up because he totally made it work for us. So, yeah.
You had all these ideas and he's like, right, okay, how do we make this work?
Yeah, he totally made it happen for us. And he watched like YouTube videos on the cooler and all that for it. I mean, that guy did us a good job.
He actually told us he was tiling swimming pools in Valencia in the middle of July, and it was more straightforward than that job.
So it's unique.
So we're building mystery and mystique around this ice bath, so people need to go see it. What else have you got planned for it?
Obviously all our yoga classes, a whole range from power and strength all the way down to restorative and yin. And then Nat recently did something really exciting and did her aerial yoga training.
Nice.
I am so excited.
I actually didn't think I would love it. We just wanted to offer it because it just looks amazing, and in the space, when people see it, they'll be like, that studio needed that. You know, it's just going to look so good. It's incredible. And I think for people who have never done yoga before, will look at aerial yoga and think, well, that's not accessible to me, because they think they have to be like an acrobat. You can be an acrobat in it, but you can actually use the silks for stability. So it is for everybody. So I can't wait to get in and teach that. You can do restorative aerial yoga. Kat and I's practice, although we've both been practicing for a long, long time, I don't know if it's where we're at in our age, is that we just love a restorative yoga. You know, I wanted to be quite competitive yogi when I was in my 20s. Like I'd studied Ashtanga yoga, very, very athletic. I wanted to do the handstands. Now I don't care.
Yeah.
I just want to relax and really like deep relaxation.
Yeah.
And what Kat was talking about earlier on, that's what we need.
Yeah.
You know, and it's a practice. So I can't wait to get going with that. But we're also, something I think that's going to be unique to us is that we're going to have yoga, breathwork and cold water in one class.
Amazing.
Because they all work so well together.
Absolutely.
You know?
And like for some people who maybe if they're working on the Sunday or if they've not got the time to go to one of the locations, it's somewhere more local that they can just nip by and have a wee taste of.
Fair weather dippers, people that don't want to have to hump half of their house to the beach, get covered in sand. And you know, I mean, my washing machine is full of sand. I can hear the sand going round in it and I think, it's fine, I'll keep going. But not everybody likes being outdoors, you know, and can cope with that type of thing. So the studio is a space where people can come and really just relax. Some people hate being outside because of bugs.
Yeah.
You know, insects and things, it really freaks them out. So it's a space where they can come and just feel totally relaxed, but still got all the benefits of things that we offer.
Yeah. You did one of the aerial yoga classes, didn't you?
Yeah, it was Zoe's. Zoe did the sound bath, which was amazing.
So she's going to be doing it in our studio too.
See, floating in that aerial, doing the sound bath, there was nothing like it. You feel like you're in the womb.
You're in your cocoon. That is your cocoon.
Your little butterfly cocoon.
Yeah.
But doing the yoga in it, I thought it was like more accessible because you had that
That's
support.
what I mean. That's what I mean. And I think that's really important to go out because most people have seen the aerial thing and said to me, oh, I'd never be able to do that. And I'm like, you will. Because it actually, stability, support, you can hold on to it in all different types of poses. So
yeah, you can stretch a bit deeper in it. Yeah.
Well, I'd broke my foot at that point and I'd came along to that, I remember. That class, I did a wee tiny bit, but it was the sound bath experience. Lying in the silk, that was incredible. That was different level experience, a sound bath, lying in a silk.
Because Zoe takes the sound right underneath you. So the vibrations go through the whole body.
Oh, I didn't realise she was doing that, but I said that. I felt that going through my full body when she was there.
Yeah. So we have Zoe joining us.
She's amazing.
We also have Alistair. So Alistair's going to be running a male-only yoga class with
brilliant.
Cold plunge as well. And then we have someone else really special.
Who's that?
I mean, am I allowed to say?
Oh, absolutely.
So we're completely honoured that we're going to have you teaching for us as well.
I cannot wait. I'm so excited. I know we've only spoke about it over text, but I am going to be bringing some kids yoga and some teen yoga to the studio, which I'm so excited for.
And then you're going to do something special on a Sunday.
Yeah.
We are going to have the first indoor Soulful Sunday led by Kelly.
I feel honoured.
I feel honoured. It's an amazing idea.
I
I just absolutely love it. And I haven't had a chance to say to you, on the Soul Space Instagram, the most asked question that we've had so far is there teen yoga? Which I wasn't expecting.
It's so needed.
Yeah.
It's so
definitely.
needed for them.
Yeah, teenage girls, it seems to be.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, but I'm
crying
really looking
out for
forward
it.
to it because you can really dive into some like really deep subjects with them that they maybe don't get the chance to speak to their parents if they're too embarrassed, or to like their friends at school because they don't want to bring it up. So being able to like work on some things about their confidence and whilst bringing the yoga into it as well is going to be awesome.
Because they won't necessarily know each other.
No.
You know, I have a teenage daughter, and I feel as if she was to go to a yoga class in a safe space, and she doesn't know any of the other teenagers, she would open up more.
Yeah,
I think
absolutely.
So yeah, isn't that cool? People have been asking about that.
I know. I
Yeah,
cannot
so-
wait.
And lots of other things planned. Ayurvedic yoga massage, which is the best massage of your life.
Yep.
I will say that hand
Me
on
too.
heart.
I agree.
Yeah, once you've had that type of massage, you'll just never go back to a normal type of massage. We plan to host sort of day retreats. It will be the home of our yoga teacher training.
Oh, wow.
So it is now Soul Space yoga teacher training.
Amazing.
So our first course will be next year. And then we've got some other people who'll be joining us in the space to run like women's wellness clinic, menopause clinic. Just a real hub of wellness.
Oh, amazing.
Yeah.
Amazing. I can
Cannot
come
wait.
along and do a disco for you if you want.
Yes.
Whack on a bit of Billy Ocean.
I did try and put in the budget
You'll
a
love
disco
this.
ball.
Oh, I've got a disco ball. You can,
Bring it
I haven't
along.
got it yet, but I'm getting one.
Oh, amazing.
So Nat actually has an incredible idea, and Stephen might be the man to pull that off, I'm thinking.
I think so.
We'll have to chat off. We're not doing this on
it's
recording.
top
No.
secret.
Top secret. It's a
my
good
stripping
idea.
days are over.
We're not sharing it just now. But it's to do with music, and it'll be right up your street.
Oh, well, that's going to tie in with our retreat as well, which you're coming along to.
I
aren't
am
you?
indeed. I'm bringing the Presswick Soulful Sunday crew, I think.
Oh, did I get to meet them?
I think
I've heard you
quite a
speak
few of
about
them are coming.
You've created a great community in Presswick, haven't you?
I'm extremely so lucky. We have a group chat. It's called the Prestwick Crew, and they're just the most incredible group of women. And Soulful Sunday helped me find my tribe, and they support me in everything that I do. It's incredible because it's actually, there's I think 12 in the group, and they all didn't know each other before they stepped onto the beach at Soulful Sunday, and now we've had weekends away together. They've had weekends away without me, which
How dare they?
I know. And it's just this incredible group of women, and I love, I think women sometimes get such a hard time, for not lifting each other up, and actually that's really sad. I've been so lucky to I have seen the darker side of it, but I've been so lucky in my life, in my different stages, to be always surrounded by this incredible group of women.
It's so important as well. We all need it. We're missing that village. So I'm really lucky I've got a big group of pals like that, but that's what I want to create. And I think that's what you guys are going to create, is having somewhere to build a community so other women can go and speak about things like the menopause. Jules, she's going to be amazing for that. But you need that, don't you?
Yeah.
I think as well, we've certainly noticed that ripple effect. You said they support you in everything you do. We felt that ripple effect as well, because there's now byproduct, they're supporting us.
Yeah.
You see them liking everything that we're doing and commenting and sharing.
Coming along to the retreat. And
It's amazing,
great,
honestly.
isn't
It's
it?
that the butterfly effect.
Yes.
Get the brand in.
It is, and it's just incredible. That's what Soulful Sunday did for me. I've you know, I've really found myself again. I had lost myself completely. But Soulful Sunday allowed me to find who I was in Scotland again. And I've just met so many incredible people and like-minded people, and on the same sort of journey and wanting to create the same sort of world, I suppose, that world of kindness. You know, I'm a huge David Hamilton fan as well. And you're right, Stephen, kindness is at the heart of all of that.
I think as well, like, what's important to say is that it's out there. You know, people can get lost and there's so much negativity in the world, but that community, those people, they are out there.
Yeah.
There's people willing to help. We even mentioned Nicole earlier, who's helped with all this. You guys, how supportive you are of our mission. It's unbelievable. So people, I think that's an important message to get out, is it's out there.
Yeah, you can't do it alone. You need people behind you.
Absolutely.
It's focusing on that rather than on what you don't have.
Yeah.
I think for me, one of the biggest practices in my life, it's the first thing that I do actually when I get up. I don't go straight into my tub. I don't go straight onto my mat, is I write down 10 gratitudes.
Amazing.
I have to. And if I don't, when I go to bed that night, I'm annoyed with myself. And I used to do it the opposite way. I used to write down every night what I was grateful for, but that's actually the easy thing to do because you can remember your day and go, I'm grateful for this, 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 and this. When actually to wake up in the morning in the dark currently, you know, and just put a candle on and think, what am I grateful for right in this moment, changes everything.
Yeah.
Absolutely everything, because it makes us grateful for everything. And if you're grateful for everything, the good stuff and the bad stuff, you're just everything just becomes on a higher vibration, doesn't it?
Yeah.
Absolutely. It forces the mind into that way of thinking.
Yeah.
I'm a great lover of the Tony Robbins quote of energy flows where attention goes.
Yeah.
If you're placing your attention on any negative, that's where your energy will go. You mentioned Jules earlier. We can't have this podcast without mentioning Jules. And the thing, again, this is the ripple effect, that butterfly effect. How far that your works went is now you've got BBC documentaries about this.
Amazing.
And that, I believe that's down to the work that you're doing and that catching fire and you know, kind of BBC and people like that catching wind of it and there. What do you think of that work and the exposure it's given what you're doing?
Oh, amazing. I actually can't wait for the next series to come out. So it's January, isn't it? Next year, 2025. I remember vividly on the beach, Jules saying to me, we're writing a documentary. Will you be in it? And I was like,
Miss Hooley's just asked me to be on the telly.
I was like, what, today? She's like, no. But that was an amazing time. And that was actually 2 years ago. Yeah. And it feels like half an hour ago. It was 2 years ago that we actually did that. And that is just small groups across the country who were just doing their thing. And then they've shone a massive light on all of them. It's just absolutely incredible. It's amazing. So grateful to be part of that.
It's great to see Greg Hempel doing it as well. Again, that a male out doing it, breaking down some barriers and saying it's okay to do this.
Yep.
Because if you look at the demographic, when you know even the yoga teacher training on the beach at Aberdour or Luss or Prestwick, vast majority is women.
Yep.
Yeah.
It's like trying to break down some of those barriers and get men out doing these things as well.
Or people also think it's a certain type of person that does it, like the hippie or the middle class housewife, whereas Victor is doing it, so it must be cool.
I know I am a middle class housewife, and I'm out doing it. It's incredible. So January, the next series of that is.
Yes. Yeah, I think
that.
they've just sort of finished doing their voiceovers and things
this
for
week.
it.
Yeah.
Oh, I can't wait to see that.
exciting.
That'll be good.
Yeah, it'll be incredible. We always ask guests, we're fresh into this, like it's a long running podcast.
So you and Darren will ask.
Advice that you're going to give people. You know, Natalie, you spoke away back at the start of the podcast about being in states of anxiety and things like that. Taking those low vibrational levels of energy, what advice would you give to people to help them along their way? How can they focus and moving up the vibrational levels a wee bit and feeling a wee bit better about themselves?
I think this is advice that actually came from Cat.
Wow.
not that long ago, maybe a couple of weeks ago, actually, when I found myself in a really, really dark place. And Kat's the best advice giver that I've ever met in my whole entire life. And anything that she tells me, I probably shouldn't say this, I will do it. She said to me, just achieve one thing today. Because I was getting myself absolutely in a rut, digging myself down. And I think I hadn't actually been out of bed that day. This was about 4 p.m. in the day, and I just said, I'm done today, Kat. I can't do anything. And she said to me, just do one thing. And it was even, you said, just even go outside for a minute, just take a walk. And I think that's the best advice that I would give to anyone who is in that really, really dark space that I've been in not that long ago, and maybe will be in tomorrow, who knows, because you don't know, is just to do one thing. Because what I find is it's actually movement. Being still is the worst thing for anxiety, because you will then start to spiral. And actually, that's probably where panic attacks come from, because your body's still, but your mind is spiraling. So to actually get up and do, and even if it's just putting a washing on, it's the actual movement can just flick you back into that state. And if you've done one thing, you'll do something else. And before I've realised that day, I had actually been able to do things. I had cooked a meal and done all of these things and went to bed feeling better, rather than if I had have stayed in that state of stillness, I would have been depressed, because I would have then tortured myself thinking, you're lazy, you've done nothing all day, you're a failure, when actually just one thing. And that all I did was actually go outside that day, and it changed everything. So that's my piece.
That's amazing advice.
I love that.
Now, Kat, bearing in mind that Natalie just stole your advice.
I was just going to say what she said.
What, is there anything else, that little nuggets of wisdom that you could impart on people?
Wow.
Something that's helped you think about it in that way, because I could have given other advice, but that was something that really impacted me.
Yeah.
So what a piece of advice have I given you? Or has anybody ever given you that you think that's really helped me? I think that's the question, isn't it?
Yeah. I mean, gosh, I probably have so many things that I would probably say to you right now. I'm a big believer in discipline. I think everyone thinks discipline means you're boring. And it's really not. I think you have to be disciplined, whether it be drinking your water, getting up and moving around. And all those little things make a huge, huge difference. For me, I think it is doing the hard stuff. I think that's what's important. If you do the hard stuff, you have an easier life. I think you can pick an easy life. And that makes it much harder. I think, we do live in a society now where everything is so ready. We just want everything instantly, don't we? And I think that's what's not serving us any longer. And we need to let go of that actually we do need to do the hard stuff. So the hard stuff for me is getting, in my cold tub in the morning when it's freezing cold outside. So I do the hard stuff to give myself an easier life.
That's a great answer.
Yeah.
I think as well, I heard recently, is we get to choose our hard.
Yeah.
We get to choose our hard now and do the hard work like you say, or we get to choose the hard bit later on, where it's all going to come tumbling down at some point.
Yeah.
So, great advice.
That was actually really similar to what Darren said, wasn't it?
Yeah, Darren McGarvey, who was on our last guest on episode 3, his story's incredible. We won't tell it just now, but through addiction, drugs and alcohol and trauma. And his was about doing the hard work, taking accountability and doing the hard work. And
his dad had instilled that in him. It's been consistent and going for it and doing the hard work, even when you don't feel like it.
Yeah, I think I'm a huge fan, I don't know if anyone else has read it, of Atomic Habits by James Clear. That. So I'm a huge, I love that book. I think I've listened to it, listened and read it maybe 8-10 times. It's a great book, and I'd fully recommend that if anyone is struggling and wants to make changes. It's a great book to read.
Amazing.
It's actually part of our, when we did our mental health first aid course, you will have learned this as well. He said that, like discipline, to help with any sort of anxiety or depression, it's actually routine is the most important thing. And people who are in that state of just lying in bed and doom scrolling or doom thinking, they're lacking routine. So I think that's really, really good. Discipline and routine is just get up and do the same things every day. And people might think, oh, how boring. But actually, if you do that, that does give you a good life.
I think everything in life is patterns. So we've all got patterns that are our default that we'll go to. So something might come along that will trigger us and we fall into that pattern. So by doing the hard work, as you say, Kat, we get ourselves out of that pattern and into a more productive pattern, a more positive pattern. And it's recognising that, and you're putting the hard work in. So when something comes along and does that, then you go, okay, cool, I know how to deal with this.
Yeah.
And I always say life's like that. It's all ups and downs. If you're going along that way, you're dead. You're flatlining. So it's up and down. So you're able to deal with the valleys of life far more effectively.
I mean, I think building resilience it's such an incredible thing to do. Although sometimes I have said I'm fed up building my resilience. I'm good. I've got enough now. But yeah, I imagine Kelly would probably agree. It's one thing that, maybe actually some children in our society now actually we lack a little bit.
Absolutely.
Because everything is that instant gratification and they're lacking that resilience.
Being told they can do whatever they want, but not realising you need to do the work to get there.
Yes.
Not everything's just going to be handed to you in a plate.
Yeah. And don't get me wrong, I've, especially in the last few years and, this year in particular, I've really had my resilience tested, and there's been really low points and points I definitely wasn't getting up in the morning and going in my cold tub. And actually, I think at one point I swore I would never even step on my yoga mat again, never mind teach. I just wasn't practicing ever again. So even when you've got all these tools, and I think Nat touched on that, they can still be tested, but they were there for me and I did go back to them.
I think that's what the difference is, though, because you do have that. Like I had said that on one of our stories, that you're not always going to do these all the time, but you know about them, so that when things do get tough, you might not feel it like it in the moment, but you can turn to them. Whereas for some people, they don't know what the strategies are. So that's what we're trying to get across, is trying to tell people there is different things you can do. You don't need to feel like that all the time.
Yeah. And I think the big thing for me, and I think sort of coming probably from my fitness background as well, is everyone thinks it has to be perfect. Like, you have to do the hours workout, or you have to do a half an hour of journaling or whatever it may be. Actually, 1 minute, 2 minutes, if you can start there and then you build upon that, or actually that's just all you've got time for.
Yeah.
That 1 minute is just as important as doing that 1 hour.
My yoga is normally 5 minutes here and there throughout the day. And between Callie playing on the floor or my wee boy playing on the floor, I'll be like doing poses. Yesterday I was doing pigeon in his toy room and he was jumping on my back. Just fitting it in whenever I can.
But I think that's the thing. We seem to have this, and maybe social media lends itself to this, we seem to have this quest for perfection, that we have to roll out our mat, the candles are lit, the incense is burning, and actually...
Which is lovely.
Absolutely.
But not practical.
No, definitely not. So I think that's what we have to stop doing as well, is that quest for perfection.
Yeah.
As Nike said, just do it.
We're not sponsored by Nike.
It's difficult these days. Everywhere you go, you're presented with everyone's perfect life.
Yeah.
And nobody's going to possibly show you the nonsense in their life. It's always the best of everything people are showing you. So I think people need to bear that in mind when you're doom scrolling and through it as just the best of that you're getting presented with.
Yeah.
You're just seeing a snapshot of someone's day.
Yeah, absolutely.
Yeah, I think that's the nice thing about Soulful Sunday as well. You can literally turn up, just rolled out of bed, and there is no judgment at all. And I hope people continue to come to Soul Space like that. You know, that's not what we're about.
Yeah, it's not having the best of gear on, the
Nope.
best yoga pants on.
Absolutely
and,
not.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Definitely not.
Definitely.
One thing that we've spoke about several times at Soulful Sunday ourselves is that a lot of the people that come are now friends, and they know each other's names, and they know what each other loves in terms, because they talk about the trees and the clouds and the seasons and how they feel. But very few of them actually know what each other does for a living.
Yeah.
And I love that.
Yeah.
Because who cares?
I know.
Exactly.
You know, because we put ourselves in that box all the time of this is what I do, this is what I do. And I'm only finding out now after 3 years of some of my clients coming every month for 3 years. I'm like, is that what you do?
But it's so true. I mean, how many times in the past have you been introduced to somebody and say, "Oh, tell me a little about yourself." "Oh, I'm an accountant."
Yeah.
That's not you.
No.
Yeah.
That's what you do.
Yeah.
That's great. I love that
It's
as well.
amazing, honestly. And it was Kat that pointed that out to me. I thought, God,
Yeah.
that's so true. We don't talk about life as in what's next. We're just in that one little space on that Sunday, and it's just everything is perfect in that moment. And I think that's what people are really, I think that's why people come back actually,
Yeah.
is because it's just about being in the moment, because we all want to be in the moment, but it's really difficult.
It was my saving grace for the first year of my baby's life. I used to drag Stephen along. We'd take the baby.
In the carrier.
Yeah, he would be
give
in
you
the
a
carrier. I would go in the water, come back out, breastfeed by the fire.
Is that not a Christmas song? Breastfeed?
Now, she even did that on the yoga teacher training course, which I thought was super
I would
impressive.
come down at lunchtime, come down with a sandwich and whip your boob out, and that was it.
You just do what you need to do.
Absolutely.
So let's get a little plug in for the new space, Soul Space. You'll be on the socials.
Yes.
Yes, Soul Space Wellness. Our website is Soul Space Wellness as well. So all social media platforms you'll find us
We'll share
there.
that.
Yeah.
Is there a website?
Yeah.
About-
yeah.
yeah.
www.soulspacewellness.co.uk.
You can tell I'm in my 40s as well, Kat, as well. I would say www as well.
I know.
All the W's. dot. Yeah.
I'm so glad you're in your 40s.
I
I
went,
like surrounding myself by people in there.
I went into an antique shop yesterday and they tried to keep me. No, it's been so amazing having you on.
I know, I've loved it. It's been so special for me. I appreciate it both so much.
No, thank you for having us. And yeah, we absolutely love what you guys are doing. And yeah, your mission, we're fully behind it.
Thank you
Thank
so
you.
much. Thank you.
And we get to collab at the studio now
I know,
as well.
I
So
cannot wait for this.
I think we should do this again in a year's time.
Yeah.
See how far we've came.
Yeah.
Remember the date?
Yeah.
Okay.
And then we can talk about it in a year's time, shall we? Make
Yeah.
that a deal.
I'm happy to
do
do
it.
it every 2 weeks.
Because we'll look back on this and I'll go, oh, actually, a few people asked about,
And-
teenage yoga, and then who knows where it'll
Yeah.
be. So
Can't wait.
Yeah, we actually spoke today before we obviously came this afternoon, and we both agreed that we believe we're actually still in our cocoon at the moment. Our butterfly hasn't actually been born yet.
I can't wait. This is going to be the beginning of it.
Yeah, it's coming out now.
Thank you so much. Thank you.
thank you.
Been a
guys.
pleasure.
Thank you.